From KPFK in Los Angeles, California, Valley Free Radio in Florence, Massachusetts, WNUC in Detroit, and BikeTalk.org worldwide, this is Bike Talk.
Bike Talk.
Welcome to Bike Talk. I'm Taylor Nichols.
And I'm Nick Richard.
Hey, Nick.
Hey, Taylor.
I spent the weekend assisting an LCI training program. And again, LCI is the League Certified Instructor. So this was a 3-day class for already experienced bikers to become LCI teachers.
Yeah, I've done that. You've done that.
It's fun. We had a good time. But it brought up for me the discussion that you and I have had in the past about vehicular cycling. Is it a pejorative term?
Yes. Well, no, I mean, is that what LCI calls it?
Well, no, I think they proudly say we are vehicular cyclists.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
It can be a pejorative term, yeah, because of the history.
Which is what again?
Well, there was John Forrester, and
right.
I think you know the history. You could say it better than I could.
Well, I'm certainly not a fan of John Forrester. I think he set back the safe cycling movement 30 years. Yeah. But you can't throw the baby out with the bathwater. As misguided as he was, the idea of, on occasion, riding your bike the way you might drive a car on a road that is designed for cars, I believe, and I think the LCI program believes, is the safest course of action.
The history of the term vehicular cyclist is that some guy will jump into a discussion of putting in a protected bike lane or any kind of bike infrastructure and say that people should be riding with cars.
Right.
And
I'm an avid cyclist, but.
Yeah. And that goes against anybody who says the streets should be usable for people of all ages and abilities.
Right. Which I think they should. We need more bicycle infrastructure. But the program changed the way I ride my bike in public when I'm out on the road. And I feel much more confident and much safer. And God, knock on wood, luckily I haven't had any crashes with cars.
Right.
And I do attribute that to riding in a vehicular cycling manner.
Yeah, maybe it's about, do you resign yourself and reconcile with the status quo, the way it is, and learn to act accordingly? Or do you think of active human transportation as a human right?
Yes, I do. I think healthcare is a human right. And I think choosing how you choose to get around is a human right, whether it's walking, multimodal, wheelchair, or bicycle, or car, for that matter.
Yeah. Is an 8-year-old going to be a vehicular cyclist?
No.
Yeah.
But a 28-year-old who is riding in a bike lane, and I don't know about where you are in Massachusetts, but here in Los Angeles, oftentimes the bike lane just ends with no signage, with no warning. You are thrown out into the middle of traffic. And one of the great things about a bike is, of course, you can always become a pedestrian just by getting off the bike. But sometimes you can ride your bike and navigate the streets like you would a car safely to get to the grocery store or the gym, for that matter.
The League of American Cyclists is not opposing bike lanes anywhere.
No, they are fighting for them. Yeah. Right. Good. I'm glad that you pointed that out. That's a big deal. Absolutely. Well, I got one of the participants to speak a little bit about this whole issue. This is Aaron Swanson. He's from the Los Angeles region, and he just passed his LCI. So here's Aaron. So for the last 3 days, we've been doing an LCI class where people are learning how to be league certified instructors. And I'm here with Aaron Swanson, one of the students who I believe just passed. But Aaron, tell me why you're doing this program.
Yeah, I've been working with young folks and bicycles for quite some time, but I've never gone through the certification. Right. And I wanted to, just use it as, kind of further education, which it definitely is. I learned a lot over these 3 days. Definitely, new ways to teach, a lot about, ways to work with both adults and children and youth. Right. And to get the certification because my hope is to do more kind of freelance work and work with other nonprofits,
Right.
to bring education to more young people. Right. So
Bicycle education.
More bicycle education.
Well, let me ask you one more question. Have working these last 3 days changed a little bit about how you ride? I know you're an experienced rider, but going through all this educational stuff, has it changed a little bit about how you feel on the road or how you ride on the road with traffic?
Yeah, definitely. It made me more aware in a lot of ways, and even particularly thinking about one, my own riding and commuting, but then how to really share that knowledge with new riders, particularly,
and build that confidence.
Yeah. So I think that the course really does a really good job of reinforcing great ways and methods to teach, and exactly that, like building that confidence individually. And then also, I would say, like, as the group, we support each other, we critique each other, and that I saw it even today, like building the confidence out on the road.
We talk a lot about vehicular cycling and separated infrastructure for bikes, but there's not always separated infrastructure for bikes. So in those times when you have to ride on the road, this kind of riding comes in handy.
Absolutely. Yeah, it comes in really handy. Yeah, I think particularly riding in a place like LA, you'll find yourself in, like, you have a bike lane and next thing you know, you don't. So yeah, I think for me, this was really helpful in thinking about leading groups, even experienced riders, because, it's like knowing your rights, knowing the vehicular code even better, having the confidence on the road to be where you're supposed to be and be able to pass that knowledge on.
Well, Aaron, thanks very much.
Thank you, Taylor.
Congratulations, Aaron. It was great to meet you and to work with you, and I thought you did a really nice job over the weekend, as did all of the candidates. All of the candidates passed. It was a fun weekend.
And you got paid, right?
And I got paid. I am a bicycle entrepreneur.
And LCI is making people financially self-sufficient.
Right. Little by little, I might add.
You don't mean little by little you're going to be financially self-sufficient.
No, I mean little by little. That's how much they paid me, was little by little.
We could use some Charlie's news.
Charlie's news.
Hey, it's Charlie here with the week's news. Last week we looked at a questionable ruling by Judge Sherry Buggs to rip up a bike lane project that had been started in Queens. Since then, David Meyer has written an article for Streetsblog NYC examining everything wrong with her ruling, which includes pretty cut and dry misinterpretations of city law and a failure to recognize a large swath of community members as being part of the community, namely those who ride bikes. In an article from Wired, Ariane Marshall posits that self-driving cars in the bike community might actually end up being friends and allies. Some Waymo data shows fewer crashes with cyclists and pedestrians compared to vehicles driven by humans. Some also say self-driving cars are more predictable than humans and actually follow traffic laws. There has even been some collaboration between autonomous vehicle companies and cycling advocacy groups. WRTV reports that in Indianapolis, the Department of Public Works is plowing major trails and protected bike lanes for the first time. It's a significantly positive change, though rider and advocate Jacob Morales points out that some lanes and paths remain treacherous, which forces people out into traffic and isn't helping the city achieve its Vision Zero plan by 2035. Morales himself was forced into traffic and hit by a car just last winter. From the Bicycle Coalition of Greater Philadelphia, a proposed bill in New Jersey would require insurance, registration, and a license to ride any e-bike, even low-speed e-bikes that don't surpass 20 miles per hour. The bill, which calls all e-bikes motorized bicycles, is moving rapidly towards a vote, and the coalition is urging constituents to reach out to their legislators. Momentum Mag has posted a guide chock full of great comebacks to anti-cycling arguments you might hear, including "no one uses bike lanes," "cyclists don't pay for roads," and "bikes hurt small businesses by removing parking." Prepare yourself for verbal jousts with NIMBYs by checking out the article at momentummag.com.
I love that he said that Waymos are safer for bicyclists than are regular cars. And I totally agree with that. I think you and I have talked about this before on the show, that sometimes when I'm riding around Los Angeles and I see a Waymo, I know that they're going to stop at the stop sign. I don't, sort of wonder if they're going to stop at the stop sign.
They follow the laws. Stacey, who does the Bike Thought on the show often, she had a video of herself talking to one like it was a horse. She's like, cooing whispering to it.
Right.
And
She's
it
a
stopped
Waymo whisperer.
It's like vehicular cycling. It is a little contentious. There are people who say that AVs are just going to make us more car dependent and keep things centered around the personal
Right.
automobile. It's not the personal automobile, though.
Right. But it is still the automobile. The highlight is you don't have to park it anywhere overnight,
Yeah. If you disagree, let us know.
Right. You did say last week that this wasn't going to catch on.
I wasn't talking about AVs. I was talking about the little robots that deliver
Oh.
food on the sidewalk. I mean, those things are glacial. They cannot compete with a human. They're not even close to walking speed yet.
Right. Although when West Hollywood fixes its sidewalks, maybe they will be.
We'll see. I'm skeptical. Yeah. Also in the news, Charlie mentioned Jacob Morales, the Bike Indianapolis Advocacy Committee chair, and he was on an episode of Bike Talk 2509. You could, see the history there.
One thing great about our show is all of the shows are archived at biketalk.org. And it's great to go back and listen to interviews with Jeff Speck or any number of, some of the leading bicycle advocates or even politicians out there. They're all at biketalk.org.
We only started numbering them way after Jeff Speck was on.
Yeah, this year. A lot of people think our numbers 25, 49, 25, 50 is we've done 2,550 episodes. It's 2025, episode 50.
I don't mind if people think we've done 2,500 episodes.
I know we've done a lot of episodes, but we haven't done nearly that many. It just feels like we have.
Right. Also, Charlie mentioned the Momentum, is it magazine? It's like a website.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
It's called Momentum Mag, momentummag.com. Article by Ron Johnson, who writes great articles. It's a comeback guide to all the anti-cycling arguments you'll hear this year or any year.
Right.
I think.
Like, Nick, no one ever uses bike lanes.
Right. And what is the counter argument is that they don't sit there in the lane like cars. You don't see them because they move through.
Right. He even says in his article that there's one bike lane in Pittsburgh that has gotten 3,700 uses in a single day. You just don't see them because, like you say, the bike lane is always flowing.
Yeah. Other arguments where bike lanes take up too much space and make streets dangerous. I don't even want to waste time with that one.
Yeah, because it's clearly not true, right?
Cyclists don't pay for roads. The old freeloader. Ron Johnson calls it the old freeloader fallacy, and he counters that.
He says, in North America, our roads are funded through general taxes like property tax, income tax, sales tax. They're not just user fees like automobile gas tax or registration fees.
Right. Also, people who ride bikes also drive and do pay for everything that drivers pay. So cyclists are subsidizing driving while creating less wear and tear on the road and needing less space and reducing emissions. Cyclists never followed the rules.
Well, okay, he might have a point there. But, car drivers don't either.
That's the bigger point. Like, yeah, my God. Bike lanes hurt small businesses by taking away parking. Oh, that's so popular.
It's clearly been proven. We had Adam Rogers on talking about how bike lanes are good for business. Cars don't shop, people shop. And in fact, many times when the road is too busy in front of your store or a restaurant, people can't get into the store or restaurant because it's a freaking highway in front. So slowing everybody down, giving people space to walk on the sidewalk will improve your business.
So many businesses oppose bike lanes in front of their business until there is one.
Right.
And it's been there for a year.
Yeah.
Biking is only for rich white guys in Lycra.
Unfortunately, that is a trope that's been out there for a long time because a lot of rich white guys do wear Lycra and buy and ride expensive bikes.
But is that the end of your sentence? Oh,
I know. I think, and I think you think, and a lot of people believe that when a city prioritizes people who move in a $30,000 or $60,000 car as much as they do people on a $300 bike, not even a $3,000 bike, then that is a fair society.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, look how much a car costs. People can't afford a car, and just about anybody can afford a bike. I know several places you can get a free bike.
Exactly. One of the last ones here, Nick, is, the cities are oftentimes too hilly, too cold, too rainy to bike. we have an interview later on in the show with Brett McGraw, who is riding his bike with studded tires in the snow in Minneapolis. So that's also wrong.
Any more?
Yeah, one of the last ones is we can't all be expected to bike. And again, Ron Johnson writes here in Momentum Magazine, that's not the point. The point is we want to have people have the choice to choose the mode of transportation that best suits their needs. And when you get more people on bikes, there are less people in cars, making it easier for those who choose or need to drive to drive.
And that was by Ron Johnson, who I think is possibly the editor of Momentum Mag, but he writes a lot of their articles.
Yeah.
And it's good stuff.
And speaking of all of that, one of my favorite things to do is to ride my bike to go get coffee. And Karen Canady, who is a representative on the Los Angeles Bicycle Advisory Committee and a longtime advocate, explained to me how to formalize this idea of riding your bike to get coffee, and it's called Coffeeneuring.
Right. We've done Coffeeneuring. Okay.
Yeah. Karen, welcome to Bike Talk.
Thank you.
You've been on before at bike events, just talking a little bit about the events, but tell me what you call it, Coffeeneuring?
Coffeeneuring, which is a blending of the word coffee and randonneuring. And the woman who started this is based in DC, and she's into randonneuring, which is these long bike rides where it's not a race, it's just a challenge to see if you can cover the distance in some time limit.
Right.
Anyway, to keep people motivated during the off season, she encouraged people to engage in a little challenge,
Right.
to get out there even, and it's always held in October, November. You know, the days are getting shorter, it's colder. The challenge is just to go to bike to a coffee shop or take your own coffee and go somewhere like to a park and make your coffee outside. Those are eligible activities.
Right.
The mileage requirement is only to make sure you get in at least 2 miles round trip on each outing.
That's not far, right?
You try to do 7 different rides within a period of 7-ish weeks. Every year the rules get tweaked slightly, and they're not harsh.
But this is a real thing. This is not just people going out to have coffee. This is a real thing. You do 7
It's real in the world
2-mile
of
rides.
people share their stories on social media, and there's actually a way to submit your results at the end, like a little report saying, these are the coffee shops I went to, the mileage I did, the beverage I had. You take a picture to show that you biked to your coffee outing, and then you submit that, and you get the nod of approval if you've met the requirements. And then there's an opportunity each year. Somebody designs a patch, and you can, if you've completed successfully, you can purchase the patch. So,
and it's all on the honor system, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, you got your picture.
Okay.
Nobody's been audited that I know of. And the idea is to encourage fun and not take it. It's not a serious thing. It's not, they do a little tongue-in-cheek stuff. Like, she refers to her husband as the intern. The intern will review your submissions.
Right. Where do people go to sign up? Is it coffeeneuring.com or .org?
You don't really sign up. You just, she shares a blog post. Her blog is called Chasing Mailboxes. And one category in her blog is Coffeeneuring, and she posts the rules there and the instructions for submitting through a Google form at the end of the period, showing what you did.
Right. And when you say she,
Mary Gersema is the chief coffeeneur, we call her. And she's the person who started this, but she started it. So this was celebrating 15 years. I only started, I think, 11 years ago. But
oh my goodness, yeah.
But people have been doing it for a while, and it's become something where it got shared through the blog, through Facebook, Instagram, Strava, and there's people all over the world who participate in it. And so she'll have fun sometimes posting stats afterwards, like how many people from different cities and countries were represented in that year's Coffeeneuring.
And it is a 7-week period. It's a start and stop period, and it's over for this year.
Yeah.
And have you gotten your patch yet for this year?
No, but there's been the reveal of what the patch will look like. There's
Oh,
a
good.
guy who designs the patch every year, but I do have the ones
Yeah.
that I showed you. They're always something a little bit different, but incorporate the theme of coffee
No,
and bikes.
I love it because again, riding my bike for coffee with friends is one of my favorite things to do. And now this just makes it what legal or what's the word, organized or you know.
Yeah, maybe the organized is a little harsh of a term, but it's somewhat organized. Yeah.
Well, also you are a bike entrepreneur. You have a company, a little side hustle you called it called Bikey Girl Bloomers. Now, what
Yes.
is that?
That's something I created when I realized that for biking to get around town, to get to work, whatever, that what I wore made a difference, that I wanted to be comfortable. I didn't want to have to change my clothes when I got there. And wouldn't it be great? I like biking in a skirt. I just wanted something cute and comfortable underneath. So if the wind caught my skirt, I was covered, but there's no pad in there, so I don't have to waddle around in that all
Right,
day.
right.
Um, and it's turned out to be a lot of fun. I'm wearing the bike date dress right now.
Oh,
And I also have fun when I do my Coffeeneuring reports. I always take note of which bloomers I was wearing that day.
oh, very good. I guess I didn't know bloomers are what you wear under a skirt or a dress. Is that right?
Well, yeah, I mean, in the term took off in the late 1800s when biking was very popular, and it was a major tool of empowerment for women who back then couldn't go anywhere unless a gentleman was
Right,
driving them around, right? But it
right,
was something they could do on their own. And then there was this problem of the attire of the day wasn't really practical for bicycling. And so there were various inventions at the time of wardrobe variations that allowed you to bike. And a lot of them were these big poofy sort of pantaloons underneath their skirts that allowed them to have each leg separately covered instead of
right.
just a skirt.
We actually did an interview recently with a woman, Mary Boone, who wrote a book called Pedal Pusher that was about the first woman to ride her bike around the world. And she did the first part of that journey in a long skirt and a hat and all that kind of stuff. And then after covering the distance of like New York to Chicago, realized this is crazy and started wearing bloomers. She probably wishes she had had biking girl bloomers at the time,
Right. They didn't have spandex back then.
right? Where do people find out about biking girl bloomers?
So Bikey, Bikie,
Oh, thank you. Bikey girl bloomers, right?
bikeygirl.com is the web store, and that's where all the info can be found.
Good. So just in time for the holidays, if you
That's
know
right. It's a great gift.
a female cyclist who needs some bloomers, go to Bikey Girl Bloomers. Well, Karen, thanks. It's always good to see you and to know about Coffeeneuring, something I will take advantage of in the future.
I will invite you to join me next year when the
Please
season
do.
hits. All
Yeah.
right. Thanks.
Thanks, Karen.
Karen was in our street librarians ride when I used to do that when I was in LA, and my wife and daughter have Bikey Girl Bloomers.
Really?
They're great.
I love
Oh,
that.
she should put them on our website. Like there should be a link.
Great. I'll talk to her about that. Yeah.
Now our like main story of the
Yeah.
episode, Bike Long Beach. They have had some opposition. There's a weak link in their bike lane network, and they got in touch with us to tell us about it.
And as we know, a chain is only as strong as its
Weakest link.
keeping with our plan of doing panels to talk about bike projects, we're going to focus on Long Beach, California today. Long Beach is about an hour south of Los Angeles, right on the water. And Nick, I've always thought Long Beach was a fairly progressive city when it comes to bike planning. Charles Gandy was there back at the turn of the century and did a lot of positive things to put Long Beach on the bike map. And today we are speaking with three panelists: Isaac Martinez, who's the secretary of Bike Long Beach; Nico Gauthier-Pin, who's the chair of Bike Long Beach; and Aaron Hoops, who's from Carlight Long Beach. And they're talking about a backbone plan, Orange Avenue Backbone Bikeway. And we all know how important a network of bike lanes are. So you all welcome to Bike Talk.
Hey, Taylor, Nick, nice talking to you.
Yeah, nice to have you guys here. Isaac, I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about the history of what's going on with the Orange Avenue Backbone Bikeway. That's hard to say.
Yeah, it's definitely a mouthful. In 2015, Orange Avenue was identified as a bikeway backbone project that could kind of like help connect all the bikeways here in Long Beach. So the end of December of last year, they kind of had another meeting where they were gonna extend it and improve it. And then we ran into some issues with the Cal Heights portion of the bikeway.
Cal Heights, it's a neighborhood that it's an historic neighborhood and it's one of the parts, like Isaac said, that doesn't have the bike lane completed yet. So if you're riding south on Orange, the bike lane ends. And this neighborhood has been, they don't want the bike lane there, and they have been fighting against it, where groups like us have been advocating for this bike lane. And then the other big issue is that within the city of Long Beach is the city of Signal Hill, which is a separate entity. And the city of Signal Hill hasn't done anything yet. We're also trying to encourage them to complete the project. But Cal Heights said, well, if Signal Hill's not doing anything, why do we have to even have this bike lane, which is not going to be complete?
Right. Well, let me ask you really quick. Is the Orange Avenue Backbone Bikeway, is that a protected bike lane? What is the bike lane like? I mean, what is the actual infrastructure on the ground?
It's both. And parts towards North Long Beach is a protected bike lane. So it's a bike lane, then the cars, and then the parked cars in the street. Going south a little more, it's just a painted bike lane. Okay. Then it completely ends, and then it gets back to a protected bike lane.
And how fast are the cars going on Orange Avenue? Is that a neighborhood street, or is that a collector street?
Some parts it's never a quiet street. It's a fast street. I think the speed limit at some part is like 40, I want to say 30 or 40 through Signal Hill. It can be a pretty traffic heavy street.
Okay. I'm just trying to get an image in my head of what the street looks like. And this has been in the works since 2015. This is now 2025. It's taken 10 years to get this much in?
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow. And Aaron, you were at a meeting just the other night. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we had a mobility ports and infrastructure meeting where they made an announcement basically about picking the alternative with class 2, just painted bike lanes between parked cars and moving cars for that section, which is pretty disappointing because it was the least safe option and not the recommended city option. I think our city staff usually really does try to make good bike infrastructure, and so it's disappointing when they are caving to people who
NIMBYs
won't use these. Yeah, to NIMBYs. They say they won't use it, and it's like, well, it's not for you. It's for people to get through your neighborhood to other places.
They certainly won't use it if it's just a painted bike stripe. I mean,
yeah, definitely not. Definitely
no one's
not
going to use that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, my only hope is one of the hardest parts of this project is crossing the 405. And Orange over the 405 has car on and off ramps, and so it's not the easiest place to put a safe bike facility anyways. So I don't know. After hearing this, I'm like, well, maybe they need to go one street over to where there isn't on ramps to cross the 405, and then put this bike lane. Again, it's going to be right through that same neighborhood who's been fighting, but I mean, it's got to go somewhere. It needs to connect.
Right. What are some of the reasonings that the people that get up and speak at the meeting are using to fight the bike lane? Parking or what?
I mean, it's mostly parking. They say this street is way too narrow to have bike lanes, but somehow it can fit 2 travel lanes and 2 parking lanes and painted bike lanes. So, I think the priorities just need to be rearranged.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and the plan, the option that we wanted was a separate bike lane, so they would the street would lose a turning lane and gain a 2-way bike lane separated. Right. And the option they shows is keeps the turning lane, all the parking, and just adds paint for a bike lane. So basically, we felt that city is choosing parking over safety.
Of course.
Which is,
well, we all know that chain is only as strong as its weakest link. And a bike lane will only be used by people who are comfortable riding in that chain's weakest link. And so it's really dispiriting to see this wonderful plan, be right on the cusp of being effectuated and then kind of being pulled up short.
I would like to add too that I think the Cal Heights neighborhood president even said, "Oh, if you are going to paint it too, can you just paint it like not green so that it just kind of blends in with the neighborhood so that it doesn't take away from the characteristic of this historic neighborhood?" Which was even
green
more
paint really
frustrating.
ruins it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Do the houses in Cal Heights and Signal Hill have driveways?
Yes. Yeah, actually, Cal Heights, it's mostly single family homes with driveways. So yes.
That always is interesting to me that the people who have driveways don't want any parking taken off the street.
That's also what we say. It's like, what's the
And there's also the go-to excuse of people, elderly people or people with disabilities that won't be able to park there. I think Erin kind of.
Yeah, Erin had a great point in her comments. Like, what about the people with disabilities who can't drive?
Yeah, there's a great statistic. The Week Without Driving does a bunch of work with this, and it's like 30% of people can't drive. It's like people are too young, too old, they're disabled, they can't afford a car. Like there's tons of reasons, but like, using those people as an excuse to save your parking is like very disingenuous.
Absolutely. And you're not talking about taking away all the parking anyways, are you?
No.
Yeah.
This is, to me, I've thought this so many times. It's like Groundhog Day. You see the same conversation over and over and over again in hundreds of places. And it just, since their side just seems like it's in such bad faith, like they don't even really care about a lot of the things they say. It just seems like we should be ready to handle this by now.
It was interesting because the meeting actually started late because of traffic, because somebody was stuck in traffic, which we thought it was very ironic. We are, as a country, this country bet on the car 100 years ago. And yes, 1950 was great, but clearly now it's not working. So moving forward, when we make changes, making changes that benefit the car, that's going to collapse. And the more we don't do this and don't give people the options to bike instead of drive, parking is going to keep being a problem. So it's kind of a vicious circle of we're not giving people the options, so the problem keeps getting worse.
Well, isn't that the definition of insanity? Someone said, you do the same thing over and over and you expect a different result.
Yeah, we just need wider lanes and more car lanes, and then
one more lane.
But, Nick, this is something that you were talking about. I forgot who we were speaking with, and you were saying that it's oftentimes the more prosperous neighborhoods that fight bike lanes harder.
Well, our lawyer, Jim Pocras, was saying that, that these rich neighborhoods can get bike infrastructure, but often they do the opposite. They're the ones like Beverly Hills, has fought subways and bike lanes.
Yeah, there's a backbone bikeway through Beverly Hills that we fought over for years, and they finally just put in a bike stripe. They did paint it green, I might add, but it's just a bike stripe. And because of that, children don't use it, and novice bike riders don't feel comfortable using it, so it is not used as much as it could be, which is a real shame. And I would hate to see Long Beach follow the same pattern. Can you tell me where you are in the decision-making process? Is it finalized? Is it done? Or is there still some fight left in you all and the process?
I felt like the city, they just have the funding for this and they had to use it. And it's like, let's just do this just to get something done. What we're advocating, if we're going to do it, let's do it right. Let's not have to redo this in 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Caltrans is also doing work on PCH, and they sent out a community survey, and we got thousands of people to fill out their survey. And so, if the city had put out a survey, we would have, taken it. But like, we don't necessarily have time to go organize a petition for every single thing in the city. Like, is that what we need to be doing?
Right.
Especially since originally Public Works had recommended alternative 3, which is what we wanted. We're like, all right, cool, yeah. Like Public Works is like on our side, and it's gonna look cool. And then this happened. So
yeah, it's really dispiriting. And as Nick was saying earlier, the argument that the bike lane is going to kill business has been proven wrong time and time again. in cities all around the country and the world. And for people to be making that same argument is also really a drag.
Yeah, we had in Broadway, which is a street closer to the water, closer downtown, that crosses east to west, and we've got a protected bike lane there. And the businesses, of course, fought it and said they're going to lose traffic and lose business, and that didn't happen. So we actually have a case study in the same city where this does not happen. So,
right.
And how many times has this exact scenario played out?
Over and over.
Yeah. Well, thank you for putting up a fight. And I'm sure that there will be other fights in Long Beach as there are elsewhere. Isaac Martinez and Aaron Hoops and Nico Gauthier-Pin, thanks for letting us know what's going on in Long Beach and for fighting and for coming on Bike Talk.
Cool. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's great to hear from you. Thanks.
Well, that was in Long Beach. Brett McGraw, who is from Minneapolis, was just down in the San Diego area riding his bike. And I asked him, what's easier, to ride your bike car-free in Los Angeles or ride your bike in Minneapolis, Minnesota in the wintertime? This is Bike Talk, but we have a lot of soccer fans or football fans who are also bikers. Brett McGraw, who has been on the show in the past, is a huge Minnesota United Loons fan, and he travels all over the country to watch them play. And he's been to LA a couple of times, and last time he was in LA, we talked, and he was out here again, but he lives in Minneapolis. First of all, Brett, welcome back to Bike Talk.
Hey, Taylor, good to see you again.
Absolutely. Good to see you. But my question for you is it easier to go car-free in Los Angeles, or is it easier to ride in the snow in Minneapolis?
Well, I would say ultimately it's easier to ride in the snow in Minneapolis, but it takes a little bit more preparation and thought and getting the gear right. That's for sure.
Well, I think your last text to me, you said that you were just about ready to put your studded tires on your bike.
Yeah, and I waited a little bit too long. Saturday morning, I woke up. My plan was to put my studded tires on last Saturday. My opening manager, I managed a climbing gym. Opening manager couldn't find his keys, so I had to go let him in. And I should have driven to the gym, but I decided I would ride. And there was just maybe a half-inch light layer of new snow, and I got about a block from home before I didn't see the ice under the snow and went down. So.
Are you okay?
Blew my, I'm fine. A little bruised, ribs a little bruised, but I'll be okay.
Right. Well, that's always scary because that 32 feet per second, that ground comes up pretty fast, doesn't it?
Yeah. But got the suds on, went for a ride, got a few miles in, but I was a little sore, so I've been off the bike. But my plan is to get back on it today. We got a little light snow on the ground, so it'll be a beautiful ride today.
Great. Well, tell us quickly about your trip to LA. You were following the Loons, and this is your second or third time in LA car-free.
Actually, it was San Diego this time.
Oh, San Diego,
around.
Sorry.
Yeah, so Galaxy went on to win the league last year, but they didn't do so well this year. Right. LAFC had a chance, but they also got knocked out here towards the end. So San Diego FC was their first season in MLS this year. And they went all the way to the semifinal and finally got knocked out by Vancouver. But so came out there, flew in, and I spent a little bit more time than I did in LA. I was in LA for just 1 day, but I spent 3 full days in San Diego, stayed downtown in the Gaslamp district.
Right.
Picked up a rental bike on Saturday from San Diego Bike Shop. Shout out to Raina, the manager that helped me there. She is awesome. And I got a road bike for 4 days or 3 days and got in quite a few rides, rode out to Ocean Beach on Saturday and Mission Beach on Sunday, and then went out to Point Loma on Monday and got around the city. Also took a little bit of transit bus from the airport. And then once I turned the car in, we took the trolley, the Green Line.
Once you turn the car in or once you turn the bike in?
Once I turned the bike in, sorry.
Yeah, you said car and I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, definitely bike. Didn't get in a car once. So
Great.
And it was great. I mean, San Diego is pretty good. They have some really amazing infrastructure, but they also had some horrible sections where, especially going out, riding out to anything west, you kind of had to ride along the five and under the five and around the five, and it was just noise, incessant noise, and high speed cars and very little protection.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because noise is the thing that drives me crazy. In Los Angeles, where I am, there's a great separated bike path, but it goes right along the five also. And it's a really beautiful path, but it's so noisy because of the five. You can't talk to your riding partner, and it kind of ruins the fun a little bit, I think.
It does. It definitely does.
Well, so now you're back in Minneapolis. Tell us a little bit about riding in the snow. It sounds like studded tires are a must.
Yeah, I mean, there are people, I talk to people all the time who don't use them, who ride just regular, whether they got a road bike. A lot of single speed people don't switch over
Right.
somehow. I don't know if having being locked in on a fixed wheel or something is different, but every time I've tried riding without studs, I usually slip and slide all over the place. So for me, it's a must, and I think for most riders, most people, when you bring up riding in the winter, they immediately like, oh, that's insane. You're in a
Right.
fall and it's dangerous. And it's like, no, throw studded tires on. I mean, I literally ride across the lakes on sheer ice, and it's
Wow.
beautiful.
Yeah, that sounds great. And the studs fit through the brakes and all that without any problem?
Mhm. Yeah, my first time around, I had they were 700C by 40, I
Right.
think,
Oh, that's
for
nice. Yeah.
Abdals from 45 North, and now
Yeah.
I have converted to 650B, so I'm running these 650B by 2.1 inch now, which are almost to fat bike standards, but not quite. And
Right.
then
Right.
gonna after we're done, I've got some 650B by 38s to throw on my wife's Surly preamble. So
Oh, so she's
if she
riding in the
wants,
snow also.
yeah,
Oh, that's great. My wife won't ride in the in the sun hardly. So the fact that she's riding in the snow, that's great.
yeah, I am really getting close to wanting to pull the trigger and get an e-bike just for because there's times you got to bundle up. If it gets really cold, you're bundling and then you're dealing with sweating and
Right.
trying to keep those layers dialed in. Where I think if I had an e-bike, at least for those commutes on the coldest days, I just get on, hit the throttle, and get to work.
Perfect. Yeah. I love the e-bike. Buddy of mine and I were riding in the mountains in Santa Monica recently, and we had worked pretty hard to kind of get up to the top, and we were taking a little break, and two older gentlemen came by us, and we started talking to them, and they were on e-bikes, and the one
Hmm.
man said he's 85 years old, and he was up there pretty high up in these mountains and doing some really tough riding, and he was saying, without the e-bike, I don't think I could have done it. And so I'm all for e-bikes. And we've been talking about them a lot on the show because they are causing some problems in, major metropolitan areas. But other uses, boy, I am all for them.
Yeah, we're getting those same problems here, and there's a lot of talk about regulating them further. The biggest problem is the unregulated bikes, the illegal
Exactly.
ones, and that I don't understand. Parents are buying these things for their kids and putting them out there, and it's like no different than buying your kid a motorcycle and throwing them
Yeah.
out there without
Yeah.
a license. So,
Yeah. Well, Brett McGraw, thanks very much for coming on Bike Talk again and sharing what's easier, riding in the snow or riding in San Diego and Los Angeles. And it
yeah,
sounds
well,
like even with the ice, riding in the snow maybe is a little bit easier.
yeah, you ought to come on up. We'll go fat biking sometime.
I would love that. Brett McGraw, thanks a lot.
Thanks.
So Brett rides in the winter, and that takes a certain kind of person. But then again, it's also a certain kind of city,
Right.
Minneapolis. They have a lot of bike infrastructure, right?
And they plow those bike streets.
Yes. And a lot of other things. I mean, we've talked to people who've said that they work there and the businesses have parking for bikes and they have stalls and showers, and there's a lot of accommodations made
Right.
in Minneapolis. Bike paradise.
Yeah. We've been covering a lot of different sides of bike touring. Josh Bowden from Adventure Cycling and I have been talking about how do you prepare for a solo bike tour. And we have had guests on who have bike toured in Slovenia and Croatia and Japan. And I just caught up with a couple of friends of mine, Nick, Craig and Tamara, who spent 2 months biking around Europe. But rather than take their bikes there or do one kind of bike tour, they sort of amassed all of the different kinds of touring that we've been talking about, whether it be a city bike in Paris or a bike tour for an afternoon in Barcelona or a bike in a barge trip in Northern Europe. It's really a great way to explore.
And you're going to do one too, right?
I'm definitely going to do one. I'm going to go from San Francisco to Michigan, from my daughters to see my dad.
Wow. Okay, so here's your friends, right?
Yep, Craig and Tamara. Yeah, Craig's one of my old friends from home even.
It's really great to see you guys. I haven't seen you in a long time, but you just got back from 2 months in Europe. Is that right?
Yeah, we did. We had a fabulous time in Europe, and we cycled for a lot of that time in Europe in different ways.
So tell me where you started and how you started.
So we started in Croatia on a sailboat trip that incorporated cycling every day for 7 days.
And you were part of a tour or what?
We were part of a tour with this company called Sail Croatia, and there were about 20 people on a boat. And in that type of a tour, they handle everything for you,
right?
Like 2 meals a day and planning the route and having guides.
Okay. And then after that, where'd you go from there? That was Tamara. Now we'll do Craig. Where'd you go after Croatia?
Well, we actually spent about another 2 weeks in Croatia. The boat landed in Split, and from there we picked up a rental car and headed towards the Istria Peninsula, ended up in a town called Rovinj.
So hold on. So a car was part of this whole trip.
It was necessary. It was a necessary evil.
Right, exactly.
And we got rid of it as quickly as we could. So we ended up in Rovinj. Rovinj was a coastal town on the Istria Peninsula. We also felt like we wanted to do biking there. So it was off season, but we were able to find a bike rental. We rented bikes for a couple days and rode up and down the coast just on day trips.
And that was just on your own. You figured out where to go and where to rent the bikes. And then did you keep the bikes in your hotel room, or did you give them back every night, or lock them on the street, or what?
No, the rental was right in the little town we had, and basically we met this lady at this door. There was a closet full of bikes, and she would give us the bike, and we would give her a few euros, and at the end of the day, we'd call her up, and she'd meet us there again.
Wow. So you didn't have to worry about locking the bike or any of that kind of stuff?
No, they always send a bike lock with you in case you wanted to go into a cafe or something. As far as finding the routes, it was really quite easy. You know, the information is not that hard to come by, especially with, carrying your phone and the internet.
Right.
And we found some coastal routes that were bike-friendly and even bike-specific, and just rode down the coast and, found a coffee shop to rest for a few hours and then headed back to town.
So traffic wasn't a problem?
No, traffic wasn't a problem. One of the things that we did get used to, however, was riding on trafficked roads, frequently with large trucks driving by, and that's more of a mental battle than anything.
Right. And then after that, then you went south in Europe, right? And you got bikes there too, right?
Well, after that, we went to Slovenia, and we rented bikes as a city tour in Zagreb for the day, just traveling around with a local.
And so a city tour means you had a guide who led you through the city.
Okay. Exactly right. And we find that's a really nice way to orient, especially in bigger cities. If you did a walking tour, you could only maybe travel around and see the sights for a couple miles. But with a bike tour, you really get a sense of where the lay of the land is, and the parks and the landscapes and the major tourist attractions over a much wider area. And having a local guide is really great. It helps feed the tourism in that area and helps them, share their culture.
Right. And so after that, then where?
Well, from there we worked our way to Trieste, Italy, hopped on a flight to Bari, which is in southern Italy. Now, we're talking early November, so we were kind of chasing the weather. Right. And so Bari sounded like a nice warm place to go. We were interested in traveling around southern Italy. We'd been to Italy several times before. And so practically on the plane flying to Italy, we did a search for a bike shop, and we found one. And I called the gentleman up. He answered the phone, and 30 minutes later on the phone conversation, we were booked for a 5-day tour in southern Italy.
And that was through a tour company also, meaning that like that guy led you around southern Italy?
No, actually, they were a bike rental shop, so they basically outfitted us with the bicycles. And they met us at our hotel the first morning. They gave us the bicycles with some panniers and some other gear, and then pointed us out of town, and we rode for 5 days and met up with them at the end.
And did you pick your hotels on that route then, or what?
Yeah, they suggested some hotels, but we have specific criteria for the type of place we like to stay.
Fancy, right?
Inexpensive. And surprisingly, they are very inexpensive in southern Italy. I think our average nightly cost was approximately 70 euros a night.
Wow, and that was in November of this year, of 2025.
Yeah, in fact, we just landed back in the Los Angeles area a few days ago from that area.
Which is why we're having coffee today, talking bikes. Well, it just sounds like a great trip, and it sounds like you really incorporated all different kinds of bike rental and using bikes as a tool to explore, whether it be Croatia or Slovenia or Italy, or even, I think you ended in Spain, you said.
We did. We also took a day tour with a guide in Barcelona to learn more about Barcelona.
And you've been there before, right?
We'd been there before. Yeah.
And did you notice changes in Barcelona that it has become more bike-friendly or not?
We were astonished how bike-friendly it was. There were bike lanes all over the place. And even though maybe before the trip we'd be intimidated about riding around in a big city like that, it was so well bike-pathed and bike-laned that we felt really comfortable.
That's great. Well, Craig and Tamara, thanks for having coffee with me and talking bikes. And your next trip is to Portugal, and you're going to bike there also.
Yeah, we're becoming a bit of a fanatic about these bike tours, and so this one is a tour that we've set up ourselves. I contacted a bike shop in Porto. There will be 8 of us, 8 friends, and we have bikes arranged, and we booked hotels, and we will get some bike routing information through some GPX files or GPS, and set off on our own and end up at the other end in Coimbra 5 or 6 days later, and it's just an experience that we have come to really, really love.
And you'll carry all your stuff with you on that trip?
No, that trip, because of the number of people and the complications, we will hire a luggage transfer company, and they will pick up our luggage in the morning. We will ride all day independent of our luggage, and then discover our luggage at the end of the day at the hotel.
Magically. Yeah. Well, I must say that I've biked in Porto, and I had a bike rental place that was also a barber shop. So when I dropped my bike off, the guy gave me a shave, which was really great. Craig, Tamara, thanks so much for coming on Bike Talk, and thanks for sharing your stories, and have a blast in Porto.
Thanks, Taylor.
Thank you, Taylor.
Their next bike trip is to Portugal, and I would love to join them on that one.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Good show.
Is that the show, really?
I think that's it.
It was a packed show, though.
One thing I forgot to mention is Jonathan Hale of Crosswalk Collective. They paint crosswalks in Los Angeles where there ought to be crosswalks, and they have some good criteria for where they ought to be. He got arrested on December 7th for painting a crosswalk, and he's going to talk to us about it. So that might be next week.
And one more piece of news. I had the pleasure and opportunity to work with Rob Reiner on The American President. And he was just such a generous soul in my experiences working with him. And his list of movies is amazing. So our hearts and thoughts go out to their family. It was just such a sad story.
They listed his movies on NPR, and Harry Met Sally, Princess Bride. What were some other ones? Just the things
Stand By Me, Spinal Tap.
Spinal Tap, yeah. I mean,
this one goes to 11.
That's the clip they played. Anyway, sorry about that.
Yeah. Well, we want to thank Bike Long Beach and Aaron Swanson and Karen Canady and Brett McGraw and Craig and Tamara Blett. And of course, we want to thank our regulars, Julie Richard, Josh Hagland, Amy Ziering, Lindsay Sturman, Stacey Randecker, Charlie Lighthizer, and Kevin Burton. This is the last week we're going to have our bike survey up. So please take the bike listener survey if you haven't. And if you have taken it, pass it around to your friends who might enjoy the show or who listen to the show. Those types of feedback really help us spread the word to make biking more safe for everybody.
Yeah, it's mostly rich guys in Lycra, isn't it, that listen to the show?
Well, we're going to go over all of the results in the first episode of 2026. And no, it's not all old white guys in Lycra.
Oh, good.
But there are some.
All right. Shout out to them. Thanks, Taylor.
Ride safe.
Hi, this is Stacey with a bike thought. Listening to the watering down of Orange Avenue Backbone Bike Lane is yet another depressing story of wealthy homeowners sabotaging safe bike infrastructure and city staff caving to pressure rather than doing their jobs. Sounds like the backbone needed is in the DOTs. What do they say? They won't use it? I wonder if they go protest the wheelchair ramps at every public building entrance. Or how about the changing tables or tampons in restrooms? There are things in this world that aren't for everyone all of the time, and that is okay. Just because you don't need it doesn't mean we shouldn't have it. Because guess what I don't use? Car parking spots. Perhaps I should start protesting those. Needing to generate signatures on petitions to get life-saving infrastructure built is sick. By their logic, we should not have any more baby gates. Just paint lines at the top and bottom of stairs. You know what will end all of this? And I've been saying it for years. Fully autonomous vehicles like Waymo. We need to end personal car ownership and most of all, human driving. It's killing us. You know who isn't? Waymo. Those cars follow the rules. Once they have taken hold, we won't have to fight for our lives, proving we are more valuable than car parking and vehicle throughput. Oh, what a wonderful world that will be.
And that was Bike Talk. If you have a story, a tip, or a topic, head over to biketalk.org and send us a message. Talk again next week.
If it's life, pretend to life, better get yourself a bike. Oh, get yourself a bike. Oh, get yourself a bike. Oh, get yourself a bike. Get yourself a bike. Oh, get yourself a bike. Oh, get yourself a bike. Oh, get yourself a bike.